Good morning, everyone. It is now 9 o'clock in the morning of June 11, 2024. Can you just make sure that everyone can hear me?
Yes.
Yes,
Mr. Chairman.
Here.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Before we proceed, I would like to introduce to you the members of your board of directors through a short audiovisual presentation.
Good day, everyone. Welcome to the Pbcom Annual Shareholders Meeting. We would like to introduce your board of directors. Eric Recto, Chairman of the Board and Director. Leonardo Dayao, Vice Chairman and Director. Lucio Ko, Chairman of the Executive Committee and Director. Patricia May C., President and CEO and Director. Bunsit Carlos Chung, Director. Susan Ko, Director. Jack Ekian Huang, Director. Levi Labra, Director. Hans Brinker Sikat, Director. Gregorio Yu, Director. Paolo Benigno Aquino IV, Independent Director. Stephen Anthony Cunyeng, Independent Director. Conrado Gloria Jr., Independent Director. Teresita Herbosa, Independent Director. Hilda Pico, Independent Director. Henry Uy, Board Advisor. Emmanuel Mendoza, Board Advisor. Michael Stephen Lau, Corporate Secretary. Your senior management team.
Okay, thank you for that. May we know from the secretary if notices for today's annual stockholders meeting were distributed to the stockholders as required by the Securities and Exchange Commission, and if there is a quorum for the transaction of business.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. The notices were distributed following the SEC guidelines and were published in 2 newspapers of general circulation for 2 consecutive days in both print and online formats. Shown on the screen, I also certify that there are present today via video and audio conferencing stockholders owning a total of 425,050,367 shares, representing a total of 18.43% of the capital stock. We therefore have a quorum for the transaction of business, Mr. Chair.
We now come to the approval of the minutes of the previous meeting of the stockholders, which was the annual meeting held last June 13, 2023.
Mr. Chairman, to save time and considering that the minutes have been made available to the stockholders, I move that the reading of the minutes of the previous annual stockholders meeting held on June 13, 2023 be dispensed with and that such minutes be approved without reading. I second the motion.
It's been moved and seconded that the reading of the minutes of the annual stockholders meeting of last year be dispensed with and that the same be approved without reading. Are there any objections from the floor? I hear none. The motion is hereby approved. The next item is the management report for the year ended December 31, 2023. Can I now call on President Patricia May C. to discuss this in more detail?
Thank you, Chairman Eric. Good morning, dear shareholders, directors, Pbcom employees, and guests. We are happy to share with you the highlights of our performance for 2023. Despite market scenario, our continued focus on core business growth, cost discipline, increased productivity and efficiency delivered the strong results for 2023. Net income was at 1.89 billion, an increase of 16.3% from prior year, and a compound annual growth rate from 2021 of 9.8%. Healthy return on average assets and return on average equity were registered at 1.39% and 11.42% respectively. The bank's assets grew to 147.5 billion. This 18.09% expansion is led by the loans portfolio growth, which ended at 91.8 billion. Funding largely came from deposits of 116.7 billion. Low-cost deposits of 54.7 billion contributed to 46.9% of total deposits. Capital expansion was sustained through organic growth. The bank's more than adequate capital adequacy and CET1 ratios should allow continued expansion in earning assets. As we reach 85 years this year, we started to embark on strategic initiatives that will ensure more exciting years ahead for the bank. Pbcom's continued success is possible through the concerted efforts of all stakeholders. We are grateful for your continued support, and we trust that you'll be there to share future successes with us. Thank you.
We propose to take up the discussion of the report and any other matters which any stockholder may wish to take up at the end of the meeting, so that we can proceed with the agenda in an orderly fashion and have more time for discussion later on. Can I therefore request a motion on the management report?
Mr. Chairman, I move that the management report just rendered on the audited financial statements be approved and made part of the records of the bank.
I second the motion.
Are there any objections? Hearing none, the motion is approved. Next item is the ratification and approval of all the corporate acts of the Board of Directors and management since the last annual stockholders meeting.
Mr. Chairman, I move that all acts, proceedings, transactions, and agreements authorized by and entered into by the Board of Directors, Executive Committee, and officers of the bank for and on behalf of the bank from the last annual stockholders meeting to date be approved, confirmed, and ratified.
I second the motion.
Are there any objections? I hear none. The motion is hereby approved. We now come to the next item in the agenda, which is the election of the members of the Board of Directors for the ensuing year. It is mandatory that independent directors be elected to the board. There are at least 5 seats for independent directors on our board. Only nominees whose names appear in the final list of candidates shall be eligible for election. Mr. Secretary, can you inform the body of the nominations that the corporation has received for election to the Board of Directors?
Mr. Chairman, the Nominations Committee received, evaluated, and approved the nominations for election of the following as members of the Board of Directors for the year 2024 to 2025. For regular directors, Eric O. Recto, Leonardo B. Dial, Patricia May P.C., Lucio L. Co., Susan P. Co., Bonsit Carlos G. Chung, Gregorio T. Yu, Levi B. Labra, Jack P. Huang, Hans Sprinker and Sikat, and for independent directors, Hilda E. Pico, Conrado A. Gloria Jr., Stephen Anthony T. Punin, Teresita J. Herbosa, and Paolo Benigno A. Aquino IV.
Mr. Chairman, I move that the nominations be closed and that the Secretary be directed and authorized to cast all votes of the stockholders present or represented at this meeting equally among the 15 nominees.
I second the motion.
Are there any objections? I hear none. The motion is hereby approved. The Secretary is hereby directed and authorized to cast all votes of the stockholders present or represented at this meeting equally amongst the nominees. I now therefore declare the 15 nominees as the duly elected members of the Board of Directors for the current year to act as such until their successors are duly elected and qualified in accordance with the bylaws. The next item is the appointment of the bank's external auditor.
I move that the accounting firm of SGB and Company be reappointed as external auditors of the company for the current year ending December 31, 2024.
I second the motion.
Are there any objections? There being none, the motion is approved. The firm of SGV and Company is therefore reappointed external auditor of the company for the current year ending December 31, 2024. As I stated earlier, we can now have the discussion on the management report and any other matter which a stockholders may wish to take up. Participating stockholders are also given the opportunity to submit questions or remarks via this live stream portal by using the Q&A button found at the bottom of your screens. Stockholders may also send any questions via email to the corporate secretary at the following address: corporatesecretary@pbcom.com.ph. Mr. Secretary, are there any questions from the stockholders?
We did not receive any questions, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, if there are no questions, are there any other matters? If there are none, I will then therefore entertain a motion for adjournment.
I move that the meeting be adjourned.
I second the motion.
It has been moved that the meeting be and seconded that meeting be adjourned. There are no objections. I hereby adjourn the stockholders meeting. Thank you very much, everyone.